You have now entered the no friend zone.
I pull up, shoot from half like I'm Michael Jordan. I don't think they fit to join the Lord's army. I survived a Christian church, moral of the story. I done beat so many demons, I got war stories. Garment look so hardcore, look like I morphed on him. Appetite for battle, yeah, I'm war hungry. I ain't choose this life, the Lord chose me. I'm a certified priest and I don't take that lightly.
Too many tanks on the ground. Too many tanks. Too many tanks on the ground.
Yahweh war machine.
Too many tanks. Too many.
I can tell that you wanna see me lose and control at the same time losing my soul. Trying to move on the low, but the stick can't escape from the view on the scope. If you move, you will go. When the tank's on the ground, better move out the road. Gotta flow like a hookah lounge, who won't smoke? If you choose to provoke, I might loosen the rope enough not to leave a bruise on your throat. The movement's strong, yeah, strong enough to make a bunch of grown men spray hatred like cologne. We got too much out here going on in the path you traveling, Rocky Sylvester Stallone. But you and I leave it alone. Michael B. Jordan trying to get a creed of your own. Just leave me alone. How you gonna talk like a boss? You don't even own the keys to your home. You don't wanna see me in the zone. Blood of a king in my veins, I belong on the throne with a queen of my own. Infatuated by the muscle tone of my body, love squeezing my arm. If we in the war with the other side, why you not taking shots at the other guy? Let me summarize. You advertise black on black crime and antagonize. When I analyze it with my higher mind, I miss my Virgo nature with the fire sign. I can see it clearly through my third eye. Point of view higher than the birds fly. No code of honor like the summer ride. They just target practice for me bullseye. You a clout chaser working full time and your paradigm is a narrow mind. All the angels in heaven listen when I'm sharing mine. I'm giving back to the culture. I'm in the back of the Rover. Why you at home with your back on the sofa? I'm having a moment. Your childish behavior, I'm sorry, I cannot condone it. The double-edged sword that I'm swinging, sharp enough to cut your bones through your garment. Yeah, Rock Nation signed a deal with the NFL recently, that's a bonus. And I just wanna know what percentage you getting paid off for your performance. Hold up, Jay-Z, he don't even know you. Nope. Trademark name who belong to. 6-figure check, no console. Come to a point where you can't undo what you misconstrue. Every day you attack Jesus, animated like Black Jesus. For that reason, he's still undefeated like Gorilla Hebrew from last season. The war machine running circles around our competition like track season. It's hard for you to be a stand-up guy, cause in the spirit world, your back leaning. I'm sick with it, got me throwing up. PowerPoint ready, they ain't showing up. No information, just inflammation. Amazon book sales going up. But I wouldn't buy it, even if I was on a diet and had a little money on the side. I wouldn't try it, even if my life was on the line and they pointing at my body with the 9. Why should I tell them a whole bunch of lies just for them to join my side? El Shaddai, all praise to the Most High. If the Spirit walking with me, I'm fine. You cannot make a decision. I can see that you afraid of the system. I can tell you have no faith in your vision. You rather sit back and hate on religion. I bet you won't walk in the government building and tell them that you want to interview. Tell them that your name is Nimrod and you demand justice and call them a criminal. Burn up their literature right there in front of them. I guarantee you gon' make the news. At least you be finally famous. Look at the camera like, mama, I made it. Have you ever stood in front of the very personification of hatred? I have on many occasions. The devil got multiple faces. Look at the swing of the pendulum. Look at the shape of the pentagon. I walk in the power of Pentecost. I show up and mess with your pentagram. Tanks on the ground, man.
Too many tanks on the ground. Too many.
Shalom, shalom, family, peace and blessings. This is Elder Yarah coming to you live. This is the No Friend Zone podcast. And what I'm going to do today is touch on the topic a little bit. I have a discussion coming up against Andrew, the student. Andrew, the student. And I'm just going to touch on a few things. This is a debate that's approaching really fast. And so I just wanted to go and just say some things. I'm not going to give the whole debate away. I'm not going to show everything that I'm going to be bringing out. Not trying to play a got you kind of debate or anything like that. I don't really do that, but wanted to give the people something to look forward to in regards to the information. So I'm going to get right into it. Let's check this thing out. Shalom, Mark. Shalom, shalom. Shalom, Elohim. Shalom to you, our peace and blessings. Yarah Yahoo. As a matter of fact, because I'm not going to be on long, let me, if anybody wants to come on real quick. And drop the link in the chat. If anybody wants to come on. We're just going to get into it real quick, man. Wait for a few more people, man, to come in the building, man. Hit that like button, man, as you come in. But we we're going to get it cracking today. I was having an interesting conversation earlier this morning. When I say early this morning, I mean early this morning. Still talking about the identity of Esau and who Esau is according to the scripture. And it's really a shame and just outright foolishness for people to have been captured by this false doctrine and teaching. But I'm going to share some things today in regards to my upcoming debate. And I'm going to sort of talk about the influences. Let me pull up a definition for influence. Let me do that real quick. Let me pull up a definition for influence. Right? Ultimately, that is the crux of the debates. Right? And so let me go in here and share my screen. This is going to be brief. I'm not going to be long. I do have some things to attend to, but I did want to address it. And let's talk about it. This is for Merriam-Webster's dictionary. Influence, right? It says the power or capacity of causing an effect in indirect or intangible ways, or sway is what they put here. Number two, the act or power of producing an effect without apparent exertion of force or direct exercise of command. B, corrupt interference with authority or personal gain. Three, we're talking about influence here. One that exerts influence. Four, an emanation of spiritual or moral force. Number five, an ethereal fluid held to flow from the stars and to affect the actions of humans. The last one here, an emanation of occult power held to derive from the stars, right? And so we're going to be talking about, does the 42 negative confessions or the 42 laws of Ma'at, or does the coming forth, the book of the coming forth by day, or the book of the dead, taken from the papyrus of Ani, circa 1250 BCE, right? Those 42 declarations of innocence, people call them, do they influence or have any influence on the 10 commandments? And of course, or the Decalogue, of course, my stance is that it does not. That it does not. And I know what the popular misconception is that simply because how it reads, and simply because the age of the papyrus of Ani is dated, that particular spell, that spell 125, the 125th spell, the dating of it has to show influence. Well, in order to show influence, we have to show some type of indirect or intangible ways that the 42 Native Confessions or the 42 Laws of Ma'at swayed that of the Decalogue or the 10 Commandments. We have to be able to show that. And so here's what we have, right? Let's just look at this really briefly. Let me go here. And I'm going to go here. Make this a little bit bigger. We're going to share that tab instead. Now we're going to go through this a little bit. All right. Ma'at, the magical kingdom, right? And this is how I refer to this whole Kemetic science, this whole teaching that really flourished in the 60s, that really flourished during a particular time, especially in the Black community. And these principles, right, of Ma'at, right, peace and reciprocity and so forth, and this and that, which there exists no document which outlines this, a codified document before 700 BCE that sort of outlines these principles in one document, right? These things are pulled from various writings or spells or texts, right? There's not one single book or document codified before circa 700 BCE that lists these 7 pillars, right? Or these 7 great principles that you often hear these modern Kemetic people like Jababel Osazi say, you know, Ma'at and its principles and this and that. Like that did not exist, right? But let's get to it. Let's get to it. And I want to make this statement right here. This is a fact. You can't change this, right? I'm not giving this away. But in my opening, Jared C. Hood, the Decalogue and the Egyptian Book of the Dead, from the Australian Journal of Jewish Studies, volume 23, this is 2009. Does it take literary dependence for two cultures to arrive at similar statements regarding something as fundamental as the injustice of murder? Leaving aside thoughts of the evolution of morality, what parents in the history of humanity have not said to their child, Shalakia, do not do it, or do what I say? Did y'all get that? To try to attribute this sort of thinking strictly to the laws of Ma'at or things that people govern themselves by, when anthropology and science tells us that man has been at least on this planet, right? Or Homo sapiens sapien, I may be saying that incorrectly, but men have been on this planet worshiping a deity inside and outside of themselves, or higher power, as far back as 300 BCE. I think I spoke on this briefly on yesterday. And it says, and of course they've been procreating at least as far back as 300,000 years ago. And so what parent or what governing or what authoritative figure who has had life experiences and who has gone through some traumas have not said to their child in an innate nurturing sense, do not do it, or just simply do what I say? Right? My parents told me the same thing. I tell my children the same thing. I'm sure your parents have told you the same thing. And I'm sure some of you who have children, you tell your children the same thing. Do not do it, or do what I say. That's something that's inherent to the nature and nurture of the human species. You even see this in the animal kingdom, right? We've seen the documentaries with the lions and picking up the cubs by the neck and taking them into the what do you call it? Den, lion's den for safety. We've seen ape species and monkeys do this, right? Take their offspring and put them on their back and carry them around, right? Making sure that they're fed, right? Making sure that they don't do things that can get them killed out in the wild. These things are innate to nature for the authoritative figure of that parent to tell their child or to rear their child and to say, do not do it, or do what I say. That's well established before any laws of Mayat were considered. Well established before that. Excuse me. And from that emerges what is probably one of the major differences between the two documents. We're talking about the 42 Negative Confessions of Mayat and the Decalogue, or the 10 Commandments, right? From that emerges what is probably one of the major differences between the two documents. Both have the concern of self-interest, the concept of blessing upon obedience and a curse upon disobedience. Both have a theocentric focus with the idea of pleasing God or the gods, and the protestations of the second recitation. The claim is that I have done what people say, and that on account of which the gods are pleased, right? But then he goes on to say, the Egyptian text, however, although, is more focused on magic and merit. How do we know this? Because that's what it's called in the actual document. It's called spell, S-P-E-L-L, spell 125, or the 125th spell. That's what it's referred to. It's never referred to in the actual construction of the Papyrus of Ani. It's never referred to as a law. It's never referred to as laws. It's never referred to as a way of life or something to teach. It's not even referred to as wisdom literature. It's referred to simply as what it is, a spell, magic, or Heka. That's what it is. Or having maintained order of balance, while the situation with the Israelite text is more complicated. It's not just simply magic and merit. It's not something just simply to maintain order or balance. While the situation with the Israelite text is more complicated, the Decalogue, or the Ten Commandments, comes to a people who have already been redeemed. They've been redeemed from their oppressors out of Kemet. The Decalogue comes to a people who have already been redeemed. The justice of Yahweh is preceded by the covenant love of Yahweh. The spell in the Book of the Dead, specifically spell 125, which is referred to as the 42 negative confessions or the declarations of innocence, is to be kept, is concerned, Shalaka, is concerned to find a way for absolution for sin, right? It's a way to find absolution for sin. This is what this spell is. Seeking absolution from Osiris so that they may pass over into the field of reeds. Whereas the Ten Commandments of the Decalogue is to be kept from the security of being in a special relationship with Yahweh. This is about a relationship. The Ten Commandments. It's how we interact and how we exchange. This is the Most High Yahweh saying, I shall be to you a God and you shall be my people. If you keep my commandments, I will bless you. Deuteronomy chapter 28 goes on to say, I will make you the head and not the tail. Those are not spells. Those are not concerns of absolution for sin. The Ten Commandments is simply a way to secure a special relationship with the Most High. In fact, the overall tenor of the relationship between the individual and the deity in Egyptian and Israelite religion is completely different, since in the latter, all are priests of God and are in a father-son relationship, democratizing of religion as it has been put. So what I'm saying here is that when you look at the 42 negative confessions of Mayat, the Book of the Dead, what you see is simply someone attempting that after they're deceased, dead and gone, that their soul, their spirit has an incantation, a spell in order to get past, trick, or absolve themselves from something that they possibly had done in their life as they were living. This is not what we get from the Decalogue, from the Ten Commandments. The ideas of both documents are diametrically opposed to one another. The purposes of each document are diametrically opposed to each other. They don't agree in context, they don't agree in writing, they don't agree in culture. Where's the influence? Authentically Erica, good evening to you, sis. They are diametrically opposed to one another. So where does the influence take place? They're not written in the same language. Not written by the same culture. We clearly see in scripture that there is a prohibition from even worshiping the gods of Kemet. Right? Where's the influence? Again, how does the 42 negative confessions or these 42 laws of Mayat or declarations of innocence, where does it codify in that particular writing, in that particular scroll, that spell? Where does it codify where these things or these negative confessions are something that should be lived by? It's not there. Doesn't exist. Doesn't exist. You can draw out all the inferences you want. You can make it seem like, as they often have done, make it seem like all of the principles and guiding principles of nature and nurture and balance is there. But it's a spell. So are you saying you needed a spell, you needed a magician in order for you to live accordingly to those things which are almost basic nature and nurture, the most innate things of the human being since the beginning of man? You mean to tell me that before the 42 laws of Mayat or negative confessions, that mothers had no innate ability or understanding in how to rear and teach their children, to put them in places of safety, to tell them don't do this and don't do that, do this way and do this that way? Where's the influence? Where's the influence? We really have to start challenging the narratives of these things that we've heard so often and been so inundated with over so much time, that we no longer, we've become immune to the lies. We've become immune to the trickery. We've become immune to the fact that these things are not syncretic. These things are not the same. These things don't line up. The 42 negative confessions is about absolution. The law, statutes, and commandments, the Decalogue, the 10 Commandments, is about how to be in right standing, how to be in relationship with the Most High. These 42 negative confessions, this 125th spell, wasn't about being in relationship with Osiris or Anubis or Isis. This wasn't about a relationship. These weren't even about how you live, how you should live your life on earth. Because remember, these things were only written for the dead. But the law, statutes, and commandments of the Most High was written for those who among the land of the living. Honor thy mother and thy father. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife. Then we already know that through history, those who claim to be the disseminators of Mayat, and the pharaohs themselves didn't live by them themselves. Why? Because they had the ability to change these things. What came down from the Pharaoh was considered Ma'at, whether he was right or whether he was wrong. And we even understood this, I believe it was Ramses, circa 1200 BCE, right around the time of the papyrus of Ani was written or dated to. There was a revolt in ancient Egypt. Let me get that off of here. There was a revolt in ancient Kemet against the Pharaoh himself because of his complete disregard for what they called Ma'at. And what was Ma'at? Whatever the Nasut or the Pharaoh decided. So if he decided that he could have your wife, then that would be Ma'at. Why? Because he would be justified. Why? Because he himself presented himself as Ra, as the highest deity, and that it was his balance and order that needed to be maintained, and that came through the Pharaoh. So he could create whatever law or system that he chose to benefit himself. Shalom, Professor Lovely Lady. Peace and blessing to you, sis. And so we have to understand these things when we hear people pushing these doctrines, right? And they'll tell you, oh, no, it's about reciprocity, and it's about loving kindness, and it's about this, and it's about that. There's no one codified document of Egyptian text that lists all those things together. They don't exist. Don't exist. And again, they're extrapolating these things out of the text. And what happens is these things, they have a snowball effect. And so then people take these things as if though this was the actual culture of ancient Kemet. There's no evidence to that. There just isn't any at all, right? And so when I talk about Ma'at, right, or this magical kingdom, right, it's exactly what it was, right? Magic, and I'm talking about David Copperfield magic. I'm talking about, what's his name? David Blaine magic. Houdini magic. That type of magic, right? They will often create these spells or these writings that were of to no effect because no one would ever be able to know on this side of the land of the living whether or not anyone's spell that they paid a handsome price for, that anyone's spell that these scribes wrote to get their spirit or their I believe it's their ba over into the Sea of Reeds to go past the weighing of the heart, the judgment of Osiris. No one ever has been able to come back and tell you if those spells even worked. But we often find that people tend not to read and study for themselves. Why? Because these things sound good. The Bible talks about those who have itching ears. Right? I want to go through this. I just want to show some things, right? This is the magical kingdom, right? Crime and punishment. This is what the brother's going to have to deal with when I really go into this debate. Right? And this is from Asor. And it says, in ancient Egypt, crimes are acts against other persons or the state. Punishments are official, not private sanctions against persons who committed crimes. The term for crime is bati. I believe that's how you say it. Bati or bati. A capital name, and I have to say this right, is in wet, right? Or great crime, worthy of death, right? Evidence for the crime of causing injuries and its punishment is relatively ample and dates mainly to the Ramesside period. The Egyptian word is nearly without exception. Diverse sentences are mentioned in text, such as corporal punishments, as floggings or forced labor. The injured person receives no compensation. The use of forced labor was, however, not sanctioned throughout. Force against dependent persons and children was seen not only legitimate, but necessary to maintain order. So in other words, there was no crime against sweatshops. Children can work. There's some instances children were working in horrid and really deafening conditions at the ages of at least 8 and 9 years old in ancient Kemetic culture. There was no crime against that. But I'm going to go through some of these as well. Hold on, let me go through. Let me deal with this. Right. Let's go through some of this. I don't want to bring out. Just want to bring something out. I'm looking at. Right, here we go. The Magic Kingdom, the Heka, creator of Mayat, right? Egyptians were often buried with funeral texts, right? And this is what we're debating, right? We're comparing the funerary text of Ani against the Ten Commandments, right? Now, let's understand what they are. Egyptians were often buried with funeral texts. The most well-known of these is the Egyptian Book of the Dead from the Papyrus of Ani, also known as the Book of the Coming Forth by Day. These funerary texts often contain a series of statements called the 42 Declarations of Innocence, also known as the 42 Negative Confessions. These statements vary from text to text, expressing each individual's attempts to live their life according to Mayat and seeking absolution for their wrongdoings. Do y'all understand that? So these were not, these confessions, these negative confessions exactly are what they sound like, negative confessions. These weren't things that these people hadn't done in their lives, but these were things that people had actually did. They actually did these things in their lives, right? And so they sought absolution for their wrongdoings. And so they went to a scribe or to a magician, and he would write them a spell in order to trick Osiris or Asar, whatever you want to call it, to trick him during the weighing of the heart ceremony, so that you can pass on to the sea, to the field of reeds, into the afterlife. It was all a scam. That's all it was. It says the declarations of purity in the Papyrus of Ani contain lines such as, I have not committed sin. I have not stolen the property of the gods, and I am not a man of deceit. Some contemporary pagan and spiritual groups, such as the Isium Sanctuary, promote the 7 principles of Mayat as guidance for living a good life. These 7 principles do not appear in ancient Egyptian texts, but are rather a modern summarization and adaptation of the 42 declarations of purity. The 7 principles are this: truth, justice, harmony, balance, order, propriety, and reciprocity. There's no ancient Kemetic text that lists these things in this order, but these things are extrapolated from different texts. These things were never anything codified that they could live by. But that's exactly what the 10 Commandments gives you. This Decalogue, they give you something to live by. Honor thy mother and thy father. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Do not covet thy neighbor's wife. Do not steal. Do not kill. Or do not murder. Those were things that the living should live by. But we're too often inundated with things that are simply just not true in this community. All right? And so let me go into this right here. The first is the conviction that Ma'at, the Egyptian concept and personification of truth, justice, social order, and harmony, as well as political success and natural fertility, are dependent on the state. All of that stuff is dependent on the state. What does that mean? It's dependent on the Pharaoh and his permanent communication with the divine world. So the only way that the people can even practice Ma'at, even today, is if you have a Pharaoh. Without a Pharaoh, no one's there to communicate, according to their culture. No one's there to communicate Ma'at to you, so your life is only filled with chaos. Because you don't have a Pharaoh to communicate between you and the divine world. The Pharaoh himself, a god, was regarded as the son of the supreme deity and given the name son of Ra, and thus incorporated the link between heaven and earth. According to one text of canonical normativity, the son and creator god, Ra, has placed the king on earth forever and ever, in order that he may judge mankind and satisfy the gods, establish Ma'at and annihilate Isfat, which is chaos, which is opposite of Ma'at, giving offerings to the gods and funerary offerings to the dead. So without a Pharaoh, you cannot practice Ma'at. Without a Pharaoh. Because there's no one to communicate to you Ma'at. They don't like to hear this, but this is what it is. I'm just going to go maybe 1 or 2 more slides, and then I'm going to close out. I just wanted to just admonish you guys, the debate, again, is going to be on Nuwapian Sniper TV. That's this coming weekend, May 27th. May 27th is the date. At 3 p.m. is going to be at 9 p.m. in the UK. I'm calling this the UK Challenge. The UK Debate Challenge. Right? So, and shout out to the Ultimate Debate League. Shout out to Black Jesus Minister. Shout out to JJ7000. Shout out to, I believe the gentleman is Europa TV or something like that. Shout out to him. But again, May 27th. I'm going to be showing his full presentation against good brother Andrew the student. But he's going to have to show up, and he's going to have to show the influence between the two documents. He's going to have to show it. I'm not going to even drag him into the who, what, when, where, and how. He's going to cut himself. He's going to cut himself. Ma'at is constantly threatened by Isfat, disorder, injustice, lying, and it is Pharaoh's role to dispel Isfat in order to give room to Ma'at. This means no justice, truth, or harmony is possible on earth without Pharaoh. It wasn't possible. This is what they believed. So I'm trying to figure out how these new face Kemetic cats today got around this one. Unless they got a hidden Pharaoh somewhere. Unless they keeping it a secret. Without a Pharaoh, you cannot practice Ma'at. It's as simple as that. Show me where they changed their understanding of that. Can't do that. Can't do that. So I'm going to stop right there. I just wanted to bring that out, man, a little bit, man, and share that. Shalom to you, I'll see you in the building. I also wanted to touch on something else as well. So let me do this real quick. Just a little promo for 1 second.
I pull up, shoot from half like I'm Michael Jordan. I don't think they fit to join the Lord's army. I survived a Christian church, moral of the story. I done beat so many demons, I got war stories. Garment look so hardcore, look like I morphed on him. Appetite for battle, yeah, I'm war hungry. I ain't choose this life, the Lord chose me. I'm a certified priest and I don't take that lightly.
So, again, June 25th, man, pay-per-view debate against Captain Zariat. We're going to be talking about and discussing reincarnation, man. We're going to be talking about reincarnation, man. Captain Zariat, man, I got something for you, boss. I got something for you, boss.
I pull up, shoot from half like I'm Michael Jordan. I don't think they fit to join the Lord's army. I survived a Christian church, moral of the story. I done beat so many demons, I got war stories. Garment look so hardcore, look like I morphed on him. Appetite for battle, yeah, I'm war hungry. I ain't choose this life, the Lord chose me. I'm a certified priest and I don't take that lightly.
Captain think he got a cakewalk coming. That's what he really think. But I got something real special for Captain coming up in this debate. A few things he's not going to be able to wiggle out of. It's going to be a solid debate. I think it's one that really hasn't been talked about in the community. So I'm really excited about this particular debate. Reincarnation. Does the Bible support and teach reincarnation, man? And when I show this, man, and bring this thing out, man, I think the people are gonna have a lot to ponder when it comes to dealing with these guys in these camps and where they actually pull their doctrine from, man. Like, it's not going to be what he thought it was going to be or what he think it is. Man, he going to have to answer some questions, right? He's going to have to answer some questions, man. So, and it's funny, because I was doing a study for this particular debate, that it's easy to see where the teaching came from. And I'm trying to figure out how come no one else has seen it or understood it that way. But it's clear where they got the teaching from. It's clear. See, I'm going to tell you part of what their premise is, part of what Captain's premise is. He believes, what they teach, that when you die a physical death, your spirit or your soul leaves your body, right? Leaves your body. And if you're an Edomite, your soul doesn't get returned like to the earth and get a new body. But if you are an Israelite, once you go before the Most High, your spirit and soul will be returned into a brand new body. So this is how they postulate to formulate the idea that Elijah was reborn or reincarnated as John the Baptist, as a brand new baby, but with no recollection of the former life. That's the key. No recollection of the former life, because if they don't say that, then their whole doctrine falls apart. And so it's a lot of these things that we have to deal with in this debate. It's foolishness, man. Utter foolishness. But what do you do? What can you do? But try to bring some truth and understanding, man. So with that being said, man, I'm going to close this thing out. Peace and blessings, man, on your family. Hit the like button on your way out if you haven't done already. Like, share, and subscribe. By the end of the month of June, we're looking to get 500 subscribers to the channel. We're working our way there. I appreciate everyone that has subscribed and continues to watch this channel. We're trying to do something for the community, man, and we're figuring out this is the way to really do that. So please like, share, and subscribe. Again, our goal is 500 subscribers by the end of the month of June. So with that being said, peace and blessings, family. Shalom.
I pull up, shoot from half like a Michael Jordan. I don't think they fit to join the Lord's army. I survived a Christian church, moral of the story. I done beat so many demons, I got war stories. Garment look so hardcore, look like I morphed on him. Appetite for battle, yeah, I'm war hungry. I ain't choose this life, the Lord chose me. I'm a certified priest and I don't take that lightly. pull up, shoot from half like I'm Michael Jordan. I don't think they fit to join the Lord's army. I survived a Christian church, moral of the story. I done beat so many demons, I got war stories. Garment look so hardcore, look like I morphed on him. Appetite for battle, yeah, I'm war hungry. I ain't choose this life, the Lord chose me. I'm a certified priest and I don't take that lightly.